Barakatayawa, Barakatayawa Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah, Hakodash, Barakatah. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and salutations to Yakim out there pushing this word and truth. This is the Brother I with another video, and today I'll be talking about how the U.S.'s allies are slowly but surely turning away from the U.S. and starting to ally themselves with the enemies of the U.S. And the first article I'll be using is on the DW.com, which is a German website, and the title reads, North Korea used Berlin embassy to acquire nuclear tech, German spy chief says. The head of Germany's domestic intelligence agency has said North Korea used its Berlin embassy to acquire high-tech equipment. The agency believes the tech was used for Pyongyang's missile and nuclear programs. This is very significant. I'm going to go to a part of a Wikipedia article titled Germany-North Korea Relations, and it reads, Germany-North Korea relations are the bilateral relations between Germany and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, commonly known as North Korea. During the Cold War, East Germany maintained diplomatic relations only with North Korea, while West Germany maintained diplomatic relations only with South Korea. East Germany ceased to exist upon German reunification, which meant that diplomatic relations no longer existed between Germany and North Korea. The two countries appointed protecting powers to represent their interests in the other country, Sweden being the protecting power for Germany and China being the protecting power for North Korea. Germany and North Korea established diplomatic relations with each other in 2001, so fairly recently. The German embassy in Pyongyang remains in the old East German embassy compound, which is now shared with the Swedish and British embassies. So as you can see, the only help from Germany North Korea would have ever received was during the Cold War, when Eastern Germany / Eastern Berlin was controlled by the Soviet Union, which is Russia today. But now, after the end of the Cold War, when Germany was brought back together, North Korea, as it'll say in that article, got help from Germany proper, which is clearly one of the U.S.'s top allies. So there's a conflict of interest there. North Korea procured equipment and technology for its ballistic missiles program using its embassy in Berlin, the head of Germany's domestic intelligence agency has said. We determined that the procurement activities were taking place there from our perspective with an eye on the missile program, as well as the nuclear program to some extent, BFV head Hans-Georg Maassen told public broadcaster NDR in an interview. NDR released portions of its interview with Maassen on Saturday, but the full program will be aired on Monday. Although he did not say exactly what kind of technology and equipment was procured, Maassen said they were so-called dual-use goods that can be used for civilian as well as military purposes. When we detect something of this sort, we prevent it, he said, but we can't guarantee that we will be able to detect and thwart all cases. Maassen also noted that the parts for Pyongyang's programs were acquired via other markets, or that shadow firms had acquired them in Germany. The BFV obtained information on North Korea's procurements in 2016 and 2017, according to an investigation by NDR. These items were allegedly used for the country's missile program. In 2014, a North Korean diplomat reportedly tried to obtain a multi-gas monitor that is used in the development of chemical weapons. And here where they say that the parts for Pyongyang's programs were acquired via other markets, or that shadow firms had acquired them in Germany, they're going to try to make it sound like, this is done through backdoor shady means. But as you'll see in my next article, it'll show how Germany is shifting its relation from the U.S. So what I believe this is just business for Germany. And that since they're still a major ally of the U.S., they can't just come out and say, oh, we're doing business with North Korea. So now I'm going to go to my next article on NPR.org. and the title is After Trump's Visit, Merkel Signals a Shift in U.S.-German Relations. This weekend, German Chancellor Angela Merkel addressed fraying relations between Europe and the U.S., saying Europe may no longer be able to count on others. NPR's Robert Siegel talks with Washington Post diplomatic correspondent Anne Applebaum for analysis. Slovakia. And I'll be reading the names of each person next to their quote so it won't get confusing. Robert Siegel. When President Trump wrapped up his tour of the Middle East and Europe, he promptly declared it a great success, a home run. Well, a different verdict on Trump's maiden presidential voyage came yesterday from German Chancellor Angela Merkel, heard here through an interpreter. Merkel. The times when we could completely count on others, they are over to a certain extent. I've experienced this in the last few days, and that is why I can only say that we Europeans must really take our fate into our own hands. Siegel. Was Merkel announcing a new chapter in U.S.-German relations? And what would Europeans do differently if they did take their fate into their own hands? We're going to ask Anne Applebaum, who's a columnist for the Washington Post and who joins us via Skype from Poland. Anne Applebaum. Thank you. Siegel. Let's examine one of Merkel's phrases. First, when she spoke of no longer being able to count on others, she said, I've experienced this in the last few days, presumably the Trump visit to Europe. How would you imagine Merkel has experienced that visit? Applebaum. I think Merkel will have experienced it not quite as a shock, but as a confirmation of some of her worst fears about who Trump is and what his attitude towards Europe might be. In his speech to NATO, he spoke about money that European countries of NATO owed to the United States, which is of course not true. He spoke of Germany being bad because it makes too many cars that it sells in America, seeming not to know that actually Germany makes cars in America. German companies rather make cars in America. And so all of the worst fears, that Trump doesn't feel any organic connection to Europe, that he doesn't understand how international treaties work, and that he preferred the company of the Saudis. He prefers the company of dictators to a company of his fellow Democrats. I think the fears were confirmed, and that was what she was telling her German audience. I'm going to go to my first scripture in Daniel's 7:20. And the 10 horns that were in his head, and those are the 10 economic zones of the EU, including Germany, and of the other which came up, which is speaking of that little horn, which is American Mystery Babylon, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Besides his appearance, Trump has a stout demeanor and attitude, very obstinate towards his fellow Edomite Europeans, and the Edomite Europeans are trying to shy away from that outlook that Trump has, which is what Trump wants to bring back is that old Edomite spirit of rape, robbery, and murder, and bullying everybody around. And Europe wants to get away from that because they see the times are changing, and other countries are starting to come up and not take Edomite supremacy shit anymore. And also, Europe does a lot of business with Russia, China, and Iran, and other countries that go against U.S. foreign policy. And the U.S. has been trying to put roadblocks in the way of Europe doing these business deals. And that's another reason why the Europeans are trying to get away from the U.S. Siegel. Merkel is campaigning in Germany. I mean, was this possibly political bluster, or do you think she foresees a necessary shift in European dealings with the U.S.? Oh no. I think she was certainly campaigning, and Trump is extremely unpopular in Germany, so I wouldn't discount that. And I think it's very important, and this is interesting because one of my coworkers, his girlfriend is German, and her mother visited a few months ago, and I was talking to her, and popular opinion in Germany seems to be that everybody hates Trump. They think he's stout, he's arrogant, and he's just ruining everything, any kind of relationships that anybody has with each other in Europe and with the rest of the world. But what she said is actually something she said before in other terms. I think in a certain sense that's healthy. I think she should begin to at least think about the possibility that the United States might not always be a part of a relationship with Europe. And you brothers can read the rest of this article, but I've pretty much gotten to the point here, and I'm going to get my last scripture, Revelation 17 and 16. And the 10 horns, the EU, which thou sawest upon the beast, American Mystery Babylon, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire, which that fire is those nuclear missiles that they're going to shoot at America after they turn against it during World War III, and with North Korea getting nuclear tech from its Berlin embassy, that's definitely going to make that event transpire that much more quickly. So with this video, I hope you brothers were edified. Until next time, Shalom.